Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to the FCS Football Channel. It's the match preview for Manchester United versus Manchester City in the Premier League. Now, we will have a watch along for this on Sunday. So we'll start the stream at 3 o'clock with kickoff at 3:30. On Sunday, we should also be doing a West Ham versus Everton watch along. So We'll start that at about 1 o'clock ish. We'll then move over to this during that game, finish the Everton West Ham game, and then start the Man City United game. So it's a day full of football. It's a day full of football for us here on Sunday, sorry. But going into the preview, Manchester United come into the game off of the back of a win, and it feels like we don't say that enough this season. So let's say it. We are coming into the game off of the back of a win. We beat Copenhagen by a goal to 0 in the Champions League. Harry Maguire scoring in the 72nd minute, and of course goalkeeper Andre Onana saving that last minute penalty. Now, hopefully, that last-minute penalty save will be a springboard for Andre Onana to kickstart his Manchester United career, really, because we can all kind of look at Onana and say, yes, we know he's a good goalkeeper based on his portfolio of work at Inter Milan and Ajax, but his start to United hasn't been good enough. He has made a lot of mistakes. Now, that penalty save needs to be, like I say, the springboard, the starting step, the foundations in which to build on, and show why we spent, what was it, about 50 million euros on the Cameroonian international. And I do believe he can. And coming into this game against Manchester City, it's a game we need him to perform. We also beat Sheffield United by 2-1 in our last Premier League game. Scott McTominay scoring, as did Diogo Dalot. Ollie McBurney scored a penalty. McTominay actually gave away the penalty that McBurney scored. But generally, it was a good performance. It was a disappointing performance from Manchester United. I didn't, unfortunately, get to watch the game live, and as such, we didn't do a watch-along for it. However, watching back, United were generally just poor, really. We weren't anywhere near our best. And if we perform like that in this game, we're going to be nowhere near good enough to beat Manchester City. And it could quite easily be a thrashing. Despite the poor performance, we did win the game, which does see us in 8th. 15 points from an available 27. Not great, but you look at everyone else in the league, we're 8 points off of Tottenham, we're 6 points off Manchester City. It's been a pretty poor start to the season, but we're not 100 miles away. So if we can put a little bit of a run together, we can quite easily catch the likes at the top. A title race, no, I don't think we will be, even though there is still time. I just don't think we're good enough, but we can get in and around that top 4 kind of battle, and I think really that has to be the aim this season again, to get top 4. We will do predictions at the end, mate. We'll do the predictions at the end. But what's yours? When it comes to team news, we go to Manchester City and we'll look at this one first. So Manchester City come into this game sat in second place, as we just saw. They've had a good little run in general when they've had Rodri. As you can see, their Premier League form not been brilliant, and really that's really unlike City, isn't it? A win in their last game against Brighton, 2-1, with Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland both getting on the score sheet. In their last game in the Champions League, they beat Young Boys, by 3-1, with Manuel Akanji and Erling Haaland scoring a brace. But Premier League wise, they've lost to Wolves, they lost to Arsenal, And that was they lost both those games while missing Rodri, which is why, for me, he is their most important player. That he is their key player. I think you lose Stones, you lose Haaland, you lose Julian Alvarez, Ederson, so on and so forth. This Man City team is still very much good enough to go blow teams away and win most games. You take Rodri out, and we saw there was a big fall off. A big fall off. So for me, Rodri is their most important player. When you look at the absentees, Kevin De Bruyne, he is out with a thigh injury, as he has been all season, more or less, and looks to continue to be throughout the season as we continue on. And Manuel Akanji, he got sent off in that game against Brighton, so he misses the Manchester derby today, or Sunday. Pardon me. When it comes to the team Man City will use in this game, I think it will be this. So Ederson missed out in that game against Brighton because he was travelling back from Brazil on international duty. But he's back now, so I imagine he will go straight back into the team, as opposed to Stefan Ortega, who, look, he's a good goalkeeper, but Ederson's first choice. Kyle Walker, John Stones, Ruben Diaz and Josh Gvardiol will make up the back four. Now, we know this will become that kind of 3-2-4-1 with John Stones stepping out of defence into a midfield role with Walker, Diaz and Gvardiol kind of becoming a back three. In midfield, Rodri and Bernardo Silva again in possession. Man City, we will see Bernardo Silva push forward into that front line alongside Julian Alvarez, while John Stones takes his role in central midfield. Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez, Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland, for me, will be the front four. And obviously, again, it will become a front five with Bernardo Silva stepping in. Now, the big change in that lineup is Jack Grealish coming in for Jeremy Doku. Doku has been very good for Manchester City this season. He's electric. He's very, very direct. He can kind of beat his man every time. A bit like St. Maximan in that sense, where you always back him to beat his man. However, I do think we will see Jack Grealish today. I think that because in these sort of games, in these big games, Pep Guardiola prioritises control. He doesn't like players like Jeremy Doku in this sort of game, that it can be a bit erratic and can risk losing the ball in order to advance. Pep Guardiola likes to keep the ball, knowing that his team will create a chance. And because of that, I think Jack Grealish will be favoured over Jeremy Doku in this game. And you look at, even when Jack Grealish wasn't the first choice in City's first season, when it was kind of Sterling would play on that left-hand side. When we saw Gabriel Jesus play there, Foden. In big games, Jack Grealish always seemed to come in because of that control that he brings, as opposed to a Doku or Sterling. And I think the same will be the case on Sunday. Now, when it comes to Manchester United, this is how we look team-wise. So, Jadon Sancho, again, we know about him. He is still suspended. Now, going into the game against Copenhagen, now there was speculation that Jadon Sancho would be back in the squad or back in contention because of a misquote from Erik ten Hag. Now, Sky Sports reported that Erik ten Hag said that Sancho was training and was available. However, he was misquoted. He actually said Sergio, as in Sergio Reguilon, was available and was training ahead of the game. And obviously we saw Reguilon start against Copenhagen. So Sancho remains in the same situation where he is not available for selection and looks set to remain on the sidelines and looks set to leave Manchester United in January, whether that's back to Borussia Dortmund. Juventus are linked, or of course it's moved to Saudi Arabia. Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw alongside Alessandro Martinez and Malacia remain out. Wan-Bissaka, Shaw and Malacia have been out more or less the whole season, as has Amad Diallo, who got injured in pre-season. He is still out. Kobbie Mainoo, he played I believe it was an under-19s match on Tuesday when we played Copenhagen. Apparently he looked fit in that game. I haven't seen the highlights, but apparently he looked a step above the others. So he looks closer and closer to being able to be used in the first team. Whether or not he is fit or not, it doesn't really matter. When we're looking at this game, he's not going to play, is he? And then Casemiro, he is a doubt. There is a lot of hope that he will be available for this game, but no one's exactly sure yet. Fingers crossed he is. And I think we're going to the team I believe Erik ten Hag will go with. I think if there is a chance Casemiro is fit, he will play. So I think Erik ten Hag will keep Onana in goal. I think the back four, he will revert back to Lindelof at centre back over Harry Maguire. I think Maguire has played well when he's played. I just think he seems to prefer to use Lindelof and Varane in these sort of big games. You think back to the FA Cup final last year, it was Varane and Lindelof. So I think we might see the same today. We know Reguilon will almost certainly play at left back, as he's back and he's our only available left back. We could theoretically see Victor Lindelof play as a centre back, as a left back, sorry. But I would be surprised. Casemiro, I think if there is a chance he's fit, he gets thrown in because of how important this game is. We are going to be, in a way, defending for our life. And if that's the case, you want one of the best ball winners in the Premier League in Casemiro. So I think we will see him, and I think we'll see Scott McTominay play alongside him. Erik ten Hag seems to favour Scott McTominay at the moment, whether that's just because of the goals or for whatever reason he's liking the performance levels he's seen from McTominay, I don't know. But again, in a game that's, I think we're going to be defending a lot, I think he will want some physicality and some mobility in that midfield, in that deeper role. And as such, I do think we will see Scott McTominay play alongside Casemiro. And then it's the usual front four. Antony on the right, Bruno Fernandes at number 10, Rashford on the left, and Rasmus Højlund up top. I think it'll be a case of playing on the counter-attack. Antony will have to work up and down on that right-hand side. Rashford, he's gonna stay high. And we're just going to, every time, we're going to try and find Bruno Fernandes and hope he can find a ball to Marcus Rashford to run onto. And Højlund, he's going to have to wrestle with the likes of Ruben Diaz, Gvardiol, or John Stones, Walker. It's going to be a tough game for Højlund. It's a big game. He's going to be starved of chances, and he's going to have to really work the graveyard shift like we've seen and said so many times about our strikers over the last few years. It's going to be a big game for him. Let's hope he gets on well. Now, when it comes to my team, I've gone for a slightly different team. It's more or less the same. I keep Harry Maguire in there. I think up against Erling Haaland, you want something physical. So I've thrown him in there. Casemiro and Amrabat as the deeper players. I don't like McTominay. He's rubbish. So there's no chance McTominay plays for me. So it's Casemiro or Amrabat. For me, it's Casemiro and Amrabat. Casemiro will do the defensive work. Amrabat can do that a bit as well. But Amrabat on the ball, press resistant, and will just kind of bring a bit of composure to that midfield for me against what is a super side in Manchester City. Now, I've dropped Antony for this game, and I've put Mason Mount in at number 10 on that right-hand side. Mason Mount's work ethic is probably the best in the team. He's got an absolute engine on him. He's played out wide a lot for Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel. He can play that. I think, like I say, his work ethic is great. He's up and down. He will help Manchester United from a defensive standpoint, but also he helps with rotations. Him and Bruno Fernandes can swap. We know Bruno Fernandes likes to drift out wide. He also, when Diogo Dalot pushes forward, it can almost become the 4-2-3-1 that we see United play. Like that, almost. And then you have... And especially if you go with Lindelof over Reguilon, you got the 3-2-4. The 3-2-4-1, which we like to play like that. And you have everyone kind of in their right position still. So I think that's kind of that's how I would go. As well as that, I think Antony just isn't playing very well, is he? So I would change it up. Now, in an ideal world, you don't play Rashford either, because he's not been playing well either. But there is no real alternative to Rashford, is there? You can't not play Rashford, really. Because he's just a player that can create something out of nothing. And you look at players like Alejandro Garnacho, they are better from off the bench. And when you've got a player that is much better off the bench, you wait to bring him off the bench, don't you? And then Højlund, again, he's a goal threat, isn't he? He's big, he's physical. Would I play Anthony Martial in this game? I would very much consider it. I like Martial, but I don't see it happening. So I think we'll go with Højlund. Although I don't know. I struggle to pick between Martial and Højlund for this game, to be honest. I went with Højlund because he will play, as opposed to I necessarily think he should or has to play. Now, when it comes to predictions, look, Man City are better than us. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, against Manchester City, it's a different game. It's obviously a Manchester derby. It's just different. United, this is a type of game that you shouldn't need motivating to perform in. The occasion and the match itself should be all you need to get up for this and really show your might, essentially. Will we beat Manchester City? That's the question. I think we all know what I'm going to say. No, I don't think we will. That being said, I like to remain optimistic. At Old Trafford, the fans are on side. We beat them at Old Trafford last year. And we're going to do it again this year. 2-1 Manchester United. Have some of that. Have some of that. 2-1 United. That's my score prediction. Call me delusional. I definitely am. But yeah, I'm gonna back the boys. United to win 2-1. But look, if you have enjoyed, please hit that like button below. Subscribe if you are new and you haven't already. That would be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you all on Sunday, the West Ham Everton watch long and the Manchester United versus Manchester City watch long in a bit.